In Soviet Russia, it may have taken ages to get a washing machine, but they did do a nice line in rockets. Every May Day, the Red Army paraded its weapons through Moscow in the hope of putting the willies up the west. Well, as we all know, the Cold War is now finished, and today everybody, east and west, is completely happy-clappy. But the Russians have finally sneaked onto American soil. And I'm not just talking about any old bit of turf. This spot right here is just a stone's throw from the massive US naval base in Norfolk, Virginia. And the machine that the Russians used for this invasion is in here. This mysterious Russian machine is actually no threat to the Americans. But its grandparents, now they were something to be scared of. These are the wing ships. Developed in incredible secrecy during the Cold War, they could fire missiles and carry hundreds of troops at amazing speeds across water or land. The Red Army planned to build a huge wingship armada, but thankfully failed. So today, the Russian engineers are building less frightening versions, which they hope will revolutionize water travel. We had a TV series in England called Thunderbirds, and this looks like it belongs on it.
Well, it looks more like a seabird. It uses about the same principles which large seabirds or water birds are using. When large birds are flying close to the surface, they use up less energy, and they can travel faster and farther without having to beat their wings. The physics of the effect was investigated by designers starting from, let's say, early 30s, and they came to the conclusion that when a wing is moving close to the surface, an air cushion is generated, is built up under the wing, and it results in more lifting force, let's say.
But a hovercraft also sits on a cushion of air. What's the difference?
The difference is that a hovercraft uses a lot of additional energy to generate this cushion. This craft uses the natural cushion of air, the oncoming airflow. The faster it moves, the higher is the pressure under the wing.
At takeoff, the air cushion is generated by the propellers, and then, Bobsky's your uncle, the forces of nature take over, giving the wingship its natural lift and making it much more economical than a hovercraft. Pretty clever stuff, but then again, the inventor was a pretty clever guy. Yevgeny Alexeyev and his team developed the wingships for the Red Army throughout the 1960s and 70s, and by far the biggest was the 10-engined Caspian Sea Monster.
Масса его взлетная была до 500 тонн, скорость до 500 километров в час. Необычность этого зрелища тогда еще не с чем было сравнить, когда, значит, с такой громадной скоростью эта громадная машина несется на высоте 2-3 метров и исчезает. А потом к этому ко всему привыкли.
The Caspian Sea Monster, all 328 feet of it, crashed during a test flight in the early 80s. It had cost $100 million plus to build, and indeed it was money which would be the downfall of the Red Army Armada. As the Soviet Union collapsed, so did the military piggy bank, and today half-built wingships still sit in hangars across Russia. Hopefully, my passenger version wasn't missing any components. We're going! What he's trying to do now, he keeps altering the balance of that flap at the back and the tilt of those rotor blades at the front. If it all works, then this thing skims, as it is doing, across the water, foot off the ground, about 80 miles an hour. If it doesn't work, off fish food. Up in space, I'm staring. There's something quite bizarre I cannot see. Actually, that day we were only about 6 inches off the water because its new Mercedes V8 had upset the balance. Me, I was more worried about the in-flight chit-chat.
Right. don't know what he's on about.
I'm just looking for anything that says made by Lada. If it is, I'm out of here. At the moment, a wingship like this costs around £100,000, and the Russians are hoping to sell them as water taxis in the Caribbean. But they'd better get a shift on, because capitalism moves quickly, and the Germans are already developing their own 80-seat passenger versions to be used in the Baltic. It's an impressive machine, and Ivan the Terrible has clearly become Ivan the Technical. Now, will it work? Well, I really don't know. I haven't got Wingship A-level. But if it does, then this will become Russia's second most famous export.